Last time on Out Chasing Stars, we took a road trip around the island of Mahe in the Seychelles, stopping in at some beautiful beaches and enjoying delicious food. Our friends Carlos and Linda pulled into Mahe to do some repairs to their autopilot, and we picked up right where we left off 9 months ago. All in all, we waited for 2 months in Mahe, but finally, a weather window had opened up for the passage to Madagascar. As you can tell, based on the fact we're in the water and not at the marina, we're on our way to Madagascar. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, I mean, this movement is very different from what we've had the past 2 months.
Yeah, it's been a long time at the marina waiting for this moment, but the winds are finally right, the waves are calm enough, so the time has come to go.
Yes.
And we're pretty damn excited about it. We've been waiting for Madagascar for a while. We've got some friends down there already waiting for us, so...
Madagascar has always been on the top of our list for places we wanted to visit on the circumnavigation, so we're really excited.
Yeah, it's about time we're getting there.
Yeah.
We have got a kind of an interesting sail. This one's a little bit of a interesting tactic-wise. So the winds are slowly clocking around to the east as we're sailing. The waves are kind of the big question. We're trying to aim for a window where the waves will be small-ish, hoping we can head almost pretty much straight south for a while, and then we'll make a turn over the top of Madagascar, and that way if any winds and waves kick up as we go around, we'll have that behind us rather than on the beam.
Yes, so the wind lately has been from the southeast, and now it's clocking up to the east.
Yeah.
And then a few days into our passage, it'll be back to the southeast.
Yeah, so we'll kind of like ride the shifts as best we can.
Yeah.
And that's the plan.
Hopefully it all
Stand.
goes smoothly. For now, we're running down the east coast of
Mahe.
Yep, past all the places we drove through. And the waves are a bit rough and the wind's on the nose, but it won't last too long.
Make our turn and off we go.
Yeah.
We needed to get a little ways away from Mahe, but once we were no longer in danger of sailing straight into land, I was more than a little eager to become a sailboat again. Wind hasn't been super cooperative so far. It's been more southerly than forecasted, so we've been kind of bashing our way straight through the waves. Not the most fun way to start out passage. Amy is downstairs taking her nap. I don't think she's feeling super awesome, but the wind is slowly starting to shift around a little bit to our port side, enough so that I think I'm going to get the sails up and we'll start trying to sail, even if we're not going to be on quite the angle I want. Over the next day or so, the wind will clock even further to the east and die. So if we have the correct angle, then maybe we'll be able to sail in the light winds and kind of make back up the ground to the east that we'll lose trying to sail right now. So, time to get sails up. The wind is cooperating now. It has picked up just a touch and clocked around to the east. So, still got full sails up, and we're kind of bouncing through the waves pretty good. But I think Starry Horizons is happy to be back out on the water rather than playing Dock Queen for so long. So, man, it does feel good to be back out here. How's it feel to be back out at sea?
Feels good. Takes some getting used to though. You know, the noises and the movement and stuff.
Lost our sea legs a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's okay though.
So how's the conditions and everything going?
Good. You know, the sea state's pretty good. I would hate to be doing this in bigger waves, but we are sailing 47 degrees to the wind right now, so pretty close hauled.
Trying to point high, and she's trying.
Yeah, the winds are southeast.
They've been moving around quite a bit. We've seen anything from 200 degrees all the way up to about 120, and it swung back around to what is it, 160-ish?
Yeah, well right now it's 150 probably.
Okay.
True wind direction.
True wind direction, thank you.
Yeah, but we got sunset, which is nice. We have some fishing nets, which are not so nice, but they are on AIS, which is nice. So
not quite what AIS is supposed to be used for, but in this case, I guess it's better to be helpful.
Yeah, so we'll get through. It'll be just fine.
All right, time for first night watch, huh?
Yeah, I got my headlamp, got my book, got my spotlight. Yeah, I'm gonna need a blanket.
Of course you will.
That's kind of chilly.
Poor Amy always seems to get cold at night, even when we've been right on the equator. Things had been going relatively well so far, but the next morning revealed that the Indian Ocean had been taking it pretty easy on us. I certainly can't say this has been the most beautiful morning we've ever had out at sea, but it has been an exciting one. Not in a good way. We had a squall roll through right before the sun rose, and this is one of those things just kind of getting back in the groove of passage making. We had our radar on, but I guess while we were sailing around the Seychelles, we had adjusted our radar range, so it was only looking really close towards us, about 1.5 miles out. So I could see something on radar coming towards us, but it looked kind of small, so I wasn't particularly worried about it. But the winds went from about 11 knots of true wind speed to over 30 in the span of about 30 seconds. That gets the heart running. So it was an immediate dive downwind, reef the sails, yeah. Not a whole lot of fun. Fortunately, those high wind speeds passed fairly quickly, and we are now well prepared for the squalls that remain around us. But, oof, not a fun first way to get back out at sea, but harsh reminders of what the weather can do. The Indian Ocean has presented a few challenges for us so far. This passage, the winds were forecasted to be very, very light. All 4 of our predict wind models were forecasting somewhere between about 9 and 12 knots of true wind speed. The winds are dying down to about 16 to 17 knots true, and we've been having over 20 pretty much all day so far. You know, this is the kind of wind we could have used on our last passage when we almost ran out of diesel getting into Seychelles. So just not real sure about the consistency of weather forecasts out here. Makes it a little bit frustrating. But the good news is that the wind has shifted around quite a bit. It's no longer coming out of the southeast, it's coming out of the northeast, which is pretty rare for this part of the world. But it does mean that the wind or the waves are no longer forward of our beam, they're aft of our beam, and that makes the ride a whole lot more comfortable. So we will keep up with this
The winds are supposed to come back around to the southeast in the next day or two, so we're trying to make as much mileage as we can, and before we have to kind of like shift closer towards the tip of Madagascar, hopefully keeping the waves kind of behind us as we, you know, do a little roundabout, so to speak. But we'll see how that plan goes. So far my plans have not been working out so well in this passage.
Winds out of the northeast may have been quite rare, but it did mean that we could start sailing fast. Really fast.
Good morning. It's about 10:30 on my morning watch and David is napping. And I am having like this transcendental moment where I'm like, holy shit, we're sailing upwind and it's not bad. I think we'd kind of just forgotten like how upwind sailing feels compared to downwind. Like downwind on a sailing catamaran is amazing and we sail really fast that way. But right now, we are sailing 60 degrees to the wind, and the wind is, if it's between 15 and 18, then we're sailing along between like 8 and 9 knots. So we're actually moving pretty fast. And the sea state is a lot calmer today than I was expecting it to be at all on our trip. And if we were sailing downwind, it would be like incredibly comfortable. It would be like the perfect day. Sailing upwind, I mean, you can see a lot of movement, it's a little bouncy, but it's really not bad today. And so I'm having a nice sail on my watch, which is kind of cool.
The wind seems to have finally picked a rather consistent direction, and along with it, we have some blue sky. It's quite nice after yesterday where it was just so freaking gray. But now that we have some consistency, I feel a little more comfortable with pulling out the big head sail. And truthfully, I thought we'd be doing that way before now, but the wind's been so high and everything. I think I'm glad we waited. The Genoa has been working hard for us, but I'm thinking we're gonna try the turbo boost of this creature. Do love that Screecher turbo boost. All of a sudden now, doing up over 8 knots with like 12 to 13 knots of true wind speed. I like it, I like it. And we're still well on pace for our arrival into Madagascar, so that is extra bonus. And yeah, today's a little bit better of a day. Ready for your night watch?
Ready?
The sunset's not too bad out there for you, huh?
No, it's actually really gorgeous. And we can see like clouds over the horizon. I think the air quality is very clear right here.
Yeah, it's kind of a rare thing. We don't really get to see that long of a distance, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous tonight.
And walk me through, whoa, there's a wave. Walk me through the sail plan for the night.
Well, the wind has dropped down a little bit, so it is 70 degrees off our bow and 11 knots of apparent wind speed. So we've got our screecher up and just moving and grooving at 7 knots, which is pretty good. And we're hoping that we'll be able to keep it up all night.
Yeah.
So David's gonna take the risk and leave it up with me. And if I have to wake him to get it down, I will.
And that's the risk. That you need to wake me up. Not that I'm worried about you handling the screecher, you know, with it up or something.
Yeah, just the risk is that he won't be able to sleep a solid 6 hours or whatever.
You know, when we're out at sea, that is it's one of our bigger risks. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But leaving the screecher up will get us to where we want, so we can turn over to the top of Madagascar, and that's the key thing for this passage.
Yeah, we might even get in Monday instead of Tuesday, so...
Come on, screecher, come on!
Oh, and now I am.
It turned out leaving the screecher up was the right call. We sailed well all night, and when the wind shifted the next day, we were far enough south to be able to shift with it. We finally got our first nice sunrise out here. We had an absolutely amazing night. The winds cooperated perfectly to keep the screecher in full main all the way up. But this morning, as I turn around this way, that's some squalls up in front of us. So the screecher is down, reefing the mainsail now, so we are prepared. I don't want that 30 knots plus nonsense a couple mornings ago to happen again. So we're ready, and looking pretty good for the Cape of Madagascar, which I'm gonna move inside and let's chat about. Going up through the Seychelles, kind of the northern Indian route, we knew that getting around the tip of Madagascar was going to be the most challenging part of our Indian Ocean crossing, at least until we try to get to South Africa. And that is why we ended up waiting in the Seychelles for over 2 months, waiting for the right weather window. You don't want to be tackling this tip when there are huge waves and the wind can be picking up, so we have timed this window very carefully, and it looks like we should have winds kind of in the high teens, low 20s as we're coming around the top, and waves less than 2 meters, which would be ideal. And, you know, fingers are crossed here that that is what's going to hold out for us. We have been very carefully planning this passage to try to stay to the east of Madagascar on our sail so far, heading much more southerly than straight at the tip, with the idea that we will kind of be able to round closer towards the tip, keeping the wind and the waves aft of the beam, which is working out perfectly right now. We are pretty much making our turn towards the Cape of Madagascar now. The wind and the waves are behind the beam. They will likely move a little bit forward as we get closer to the tip, as kind of the wind and the waves funnel up the side of Madagascar over the top, but we should be able to kind of continue curving along with them. That's the hope. We will see how that plan actually works out in reality, but I have planned this as best as I possibly can. With the wind shift, things started to get bumpy again, but that didn't stop Starry Horizons from charging towards a rare milestone.
We are just absolutely flying today. Winds have picked up, definitely. They're coming a bit more southerly than I was expecting, but the waves are they're picking up, but they're also not quite as high as I was expecting, which is a bonus because we are having to sail a bit higher, but it's smack dab in the sweet spot for our sail plan. And you know, we're seeing like 9 and 10 knots. We're reefed, we're well within the reef schedule chart from Fontaine Peugeot, and yet we are still just absolutely blasting. I'm thinking we're gonna have a good shot at a 200 nautical mile, 24-hour period, and we're gonna hit the Cape of Madagascar way before I thought we would, and that's probably the biggest reward. That's some exciting music. What just happened?
We just passed 200 nautical miles in 24 hours.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, holy cow, Starry Horizons is moving today, isn't she?
I think we've only done that twice before.
Oh, a couple more than that, but not very often. It's
Alright.
rare enough to celebrate.
Woo, woo. Yeah.
And it does mean that we are rapidly closing in on Madagascar, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll get in a day earlier than we thought, most likely, hopefully, probably. And we've got 68 miles till the Cape, and then we'll see what conditions are like then.
Likely will be a little bit lighter than this.
Yeah, this is pretty moving and grooving here.
A little bumpy for you?
A little bumpy. It's alright, it's my nap time, so I get to just go down and relax, take a chill pill.
Sounds like a good reward for a 200-mile day, babe.
And then I gotta make dinner, so if I ask real nicely, Dave will make dinner for me.
Yes, he will.
Yeah.
I was curious exactly how many 200-mile days we have had so far, so went back and looked it up. We'd had 4, so today makes 5. That is still a pretty rare thing after almost 5 years of sailing around the world, so definitely something worth celebrating. Our speed is still pretty high, so I'm thinking we may be able to increase the number of miles in our 24-hour period. From 1 p.m. yesterday to 1 p.m. today, it was at 200 miles exactly, so I'm thinking we may be able to make that better. And 205. That's not too bad, I think. It's 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. today. We are still moving and grooving. I did put a second reef in the main. The gusts have been increasing a little bit. We are getting closer and closer to the Cape of Madagascar, so I'm kind of expecting the winds to continue accelerating. So just out of an abundance of caution, we don't actually need it for the wind speeds. But I just, after we've heard so much about the winds around this part of the world, I just don't really want to take any chances. We're sailing plenty fast to arrive to an anchorage tomorrow morning, so we'll just be better safe than sorry for now, which likely means the 205 will be our best 24-hour run, which is not quite our best ever. We did have a 209, I think, on the way to Panama way back when, but still, 205 that's moving for Starry Horizons. I think I might be happy to put that second reef in. We are about 24 miles from the Cape, and looks like we got some squalls coming in addition to the regular wind accelerating effect. Could be a fun last few hours. The sun is setting, and unfortunately don't quite have sight of Madagascar yet. So I guess we'll be rounding that Cape at night. It's getting a little rough out here though.
Stressful situations always seem to happen at night, and it wasn't a great sign that conditions were deteriorating fairly quickly. But we were still sailing quite fast.
Don't have a whole lot of light left, but tell me what just happened!
It's 7 o'clock on the dot, and we did 209 nautical miles in 24 hours.
Woohoo!
Go Starry Horizons.
And that is ties our all-time record, right?
Yes, on our way to Panama, we also hit a 209 nautical mile day. That time, at least my memory of it, is a lot smoother ride than this. But rose-colored glasses are quite the thing in sailing, so...
Fair point.
Yeah.
Now we're getting close to the Cape now, right?
15 miles to the Cape, 15 nautical miles to the Cape. And yeah, last sunset just happened, and last night at sea, I'm all settled in and ready to go.
Sounds excellent. Madagascar tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I heard some pretty big waves and came upstairs. What's going on?
Well, the northern point of Madagascar is giving us quite a send-off. So, the winds are high, 25 to 30 knots, and we're sailing really hard, 10 or 11 knots, but we have an insane current against us, a current of like 5 or 6 knots against us. So we slowed down a lot. We were surfing really hard coming down the waves. So we have adjusted course to try to get us to closer to land, and hopefully the current will not be so bad out there. We've stopped surfing as hard, so we're a little bit more comfortable, but whew, it's a beating.
Yeah, the other thing we did is turn the engine on to help make sure the boat keeps forward momentum, isn't getting knocked backwards.
Yeah, and it's helped. We're doing better.
Whoa.
Taking on some waves over the bow, though.
Yeah, this is gonna be a night to remember.
Yeah.
This is what all the fuss is about, huh?
This is what all the fuss is about.
We have a ton of faith in Starry Horizons to get us through rough seas, but that night wasn't a fun one. We do have our final sunrise at sea back there, but I am not going to go outside to show it to you right now, because Madagascar, I think, is trying to show us what we should have had on this passage. We rounded the Cape, and that was an experience in of itself. We made it through, but once we rounded it, we were expecting winds to, you know, come around from the northeast, or most typically in the forecast, they die. They're not dead. They're blowing 20 plus from the southeast, which is, right where we're trying to go. So yeah, we're straight up pounding into waves, and this is not the slow ocean rollers, this is the huge chop from wind and crap like that. So this is not the fun last little easy leg I thought we were gonna have, but unfortunately the anchorage is only about 14 miles in front of us, so we don't have to do this, you know, for days on end. But yeah, thought we had almost avoided this sort of experience on this passage. 14 miles of really rough weather is significantly better than 4 days of it. Still, we were ready to get that anchor down.
We made it to Madagascar.
Yes, we did. And quite some good time, and a little bit rocky rolly, but we got there.
Yeah, that's less than 4 days to get here.
Yeah, that's true. It's an hour short of 4 days since we left Seychelles.
Well done, Starry Horizons.
Yeah, it's kind of kicking ass and taking names. So we are now anchored at an island called Mitsio, and there's a little village here, a very, very well protected anchorage, which is nice. There's a couple boats here.
We're being slightly naughty because this is not technically the clear-in port, but we wouldn't get to the clear-in port in daylight today, so we're chilling, waiting.
Yeah, we're
And then
gonna
we'll go.
recuperate a little bit.
Yeah.
David is really ready for a nap because
I am like tired.
he was up for a portion of my watch with me last night. So yeah.
Alright, well, welcome to Madagascar.
Sweet.
After a little rest and recuperation, I felt as good as new, and the next day we were on the move again, down towards Hellville to officially clear in. Hey y'all, thank you very much for checking out our video of the passage down to Madagascar. This one had a little bit of rough waves, some fast sailing. Tip around Madagascar, that was a little bit challenging, but truthfully, the hardest part of the whole passage was waiting 2 months in the Seychelles for the right weather window. That means the passage wasn't too bad, and that's how it's supposed to be. Coming up next, we have got Madagascar, and there is some absolutely incredible wildlife down there. So we've got a lot of touring to do, animals to find. Make sure you stick around, check those episodes out. We'll see y'all next time.